Hey, we're back live. It's been a couple weeks, guys. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm sure all 8 of our listeners are missing us. So,
Whatever happened to like Bangladesh or something? We
Sri Lanka.
Yeah, Sri Lanka. We were huge in Sri Lanka for like 8 weeks.
I know. We were getting thousands of views and listens and that. So I don't know. I guess they got bored with us talking about whatever we like. So hey,
yeah, or the bots died that were.
Yeah, I'm sure it was the bots.
The bots. Transformers were listening to us.
Yeah, that of course that's on SoundCloud. We don't even upload there anymore. We only just do the video here. We don't even upload the audio anymore. So, so we're just a video only podcast available on YouTube and Facebook. So,
well, we miss you, Sri Lanka. If you want to offer us an all expense paid trip out there to promote Sri Lanka, let us know.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out. So, well, hey,
it's only a 110-hour flight.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. It'd probably be like probably a 20 or 22-hour flight.
Probably
straight. If we left from Detroit. So
yeah,
I'm sure we'd probably do better flying like into Hawaii and then from Hawaii on to somewhere else, or
depending which direction you fly, though, you'll end up there yesterday.
Yeah, well, you always do because it's whether you go if you go east, you're kind of going. It's at the same time either way. Probably because it's almost halfway around the world, but you cross the international date line there in the middle of the Pacific. Right. So. As it is right now, it's already probably almost tomorrow there. So, because they're probably like 12, 14 hours ahead of us. So,
yeah.
But hey, let's get started real quick with
tomorrow's lotto numbers.
Yeah, let's get started with some ad reads. We can get into everything. So, we're going to start off with Lawrence Family Chiropractic Center, located in Belleville, Michigan, Dexter, Michigan, and they take great pride in finding the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital x-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give a call, 734-697-4244.
All right. And then we also have Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though, we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying experience, we never forget that you are the center of all the transactions, and we put our relationships with you as our number one priority. The big thing I'm harping on right now is time frame. A lot of people, you're in your day-to-day lives and you're thinking, well, I don't want to move until spring. Well, I'm here to tell you spring is now. In real estate time, you start looking for a house now. It might take you about a month to find a house. Then it takes about a month to 45 days to close, depending on what kind of program you're on. Then they could easily have 30 to 60 days occupancy. So when you add up all those time frames, if you start today, you might not actually be moving into your house possibly till mid-April, mid-May even, depending on the occupancy. So that's why we say we want to talk to you now. Whatever your real estate goals are, give us a call. 586-232-5144 is our Team Titans hotline number. It's a free consultation. Jill and I will take the time to get to know you, what your goals, your needs, what your situation is. Because believe it or not, it's not a one-size-fit-all approach that a lot of they're trying to really streamline everything to a one-size-fits-all approach through online services. But I'm telling you, if you do that way, you're not gonna get the maximum results that you need for your situation. So give us a call. Jill and I are here for you.
All right. And Scott and I have talked in the last couple of weeks. Last week I was going to host by myself, and Scott had a closing, but unfortunately I came down with a little bit of a stomach flu, so I was incapacitated all day.
Yeah, those stomach bugs can be miserable.
Yeah, and they're going around. I was talking with a friend yesterday morning. We had breakfast together, and she works at one of the Meijers I go to, and she said that it had been going around there. She was, probably got a Meijer. I said, no, I'm pretty sure I did, because it's about the only place I'd been, so...
Right.
And people coming in and out of the store, stuff like that. So usually I do pretty good. So last of the day I was gone. It was just maybe a little weak for a while. So
yeah, thankfully it was just a 24-hour type thing, and you're up and new the next day.
Yeah, just took me a couple of days to be able to eat. So yeah, doing much better now. So glad to be back up and around. Worked all weekend as usual. We're into the new year now. It's 2023, and
yeah.
Snuck up on us again.
It did. It snuck up, but we're here. It's crazy looking at, even like I did a post yesterday, came across an old photo from my high school yearbook from our old wrestling team from the 1989-90 season. And it's just amazing how now, that's 33 years ago.
Yeah.
Like what?
I like how you posted, can you pick me out? I was like, everybody can pick you out, Scott. You're the one that looks like a Muppet without your beard.
Hey. There were a couple other Muppets on the team. No. But
this was very prominent.
Yes, yep. But it's just amazing how fast the time flies by. Here we are in a new year, and think about it. 2 more years. We are a quarter of the way through the new century already.
I know. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, it's like, I'm thinking about that. It's like, okay, we're going to be a quarter through that. I'm 51, so, a couple more years, still in my 50s. And it's like, wow, it's just hardly because the 70s and 80s and the 1900s when I was, it sounds like ancient talking about that now.
Right.
You hear kids be like, oh, you're from the 1900s. It's like, oh my God, it does sound old when you say it like that. Because we always said, when you're growing up, it's like, well, we're in the 20th century and 21st century.
I was watching something on TV and they were talking about older stuff. And they're like, well, it was from the mid-century 1900s. I'm like, 1950? Like, just like when you say mid-century, you think it's like 1800s or older. But now they're using that term to refer to 70 years ago. So
well, yeah, it's just crazy. It's like, wow, it's because back in when we were watching documentaries in like school in the 70s, 80s, all that stuff, 90s, and they talk about the mid 1800s. It felt like ancient times, and
right. And now they're talking about the mid 1900s.
Yeah, and we're talking about 100 years ago, even the 1900s. It was like, oh my God, that's like forever ago. So, but speaking of like the 1900s, I was going to share this real quick. I don't know if you know who. I'm sure you know who Nate Lovett is. We usually see him down at Gem City. He's from Ohio. He's been doing a lot of artwork. He got to do a little golden book, so it's an official little golden book of the animated Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, very cool.
So I wanted to share that. Now, there's one character missing. There's the Eric character, but he's in the book. I'm not sure why he didn't make the cover, but all the other team members, I think it's just the way they cropped the photo in that. But he did such a great job. It's based on one of the episodes, the night of No Tomorrow. So it's kind of like when I think that's the first episode. Yeah. So it's kind of neat. I was going through it. The artwork is done very well. It's kind of, I think it's something, an existing animated project, instead of just like taking the original animated images and just reusing those. They actually had someone draw up new images, and
very cool.
There's also coming out, and I've actually had pre-ordered them. And I just got notification they shipped the first wave of action figures based on the animated Dungeons and Dragons series. So
I think they're trying to capitalize on the upcoming movie too for Dungeons and Dragons.
I think it's part of it, and they're revitalizing the animated. There's a new Paramount Plus just announced there's a new Dungeons and Dragons series. Does not sound like it's part of the movie. It sounds like it's something completely different. But of course, with Dungeons and Dragons, there's so many different facets they can go into, and never have to worry about trying to do crossovers or continuity and things like that.
Yeah. So. Unfortunately, in my humble opinion, not that it matters, but unfortunately for me, to this day, after all these years, the best Dungeons and Dragons product is the animated series. For some reason, they just can't pull off movies, and based on the trailers of the upcoming one, I have zero interest in it. They should be the cornerstone product. But Lord of the Rings has outdone them. Game of Thrones has done it better. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they constantly feel like they have to give us some kind of a cheese effect in their brand when their books are always serious. The books have never been cheesy.
Well, and that's the whole thing. I never understood that either. It's like the one that tried to, it was low budget, and it came across very cheesy, but it's just because low budget. They tried to take it seriously. It was the one done in 2000. That's when
the Marlon Wayans one.
Yeah, they had some humor in that. Well, it was, but they wrote it based on some of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but they didn't have the money. It was like, let's try to get something out there, and then do more, and then go from there. But there's a lot of different, Dragonlance, Forbidden Realms, stuff like that. Those are all stuff been talked about making into series, and those are very more serious takes on it.
I just hope they do a serious take on it. They really could do well.
But I think I'm gonna share this. You might remember this commercial from a couple years ago. This was a live action car commercial. And it was for the
I remember this.
Yeah, it was based on the animated Dungeons and Dragons. So
And the actors are perfect for the roles.
Yeah. And it's something that shows that they can actually do this.
Yeah.
This was just done as a commercial.
So I take it back. This is the best Dungeons and Dragons product ever made.
Live action, yeah.
But they perfectly brought it to real life. Actors really are perfect.
Hora de voltar para casa, crianças.
And with this approach, they could kind of do like a Jumanji,
Yeah,
where they get sucked into the game.
Faz alguma coisa!
Deixe o impossível para trás.
yeah. It was
the villain. The villain trying to put that into live action could come across very cheesy. They did an amazing job.
I mean, the beauty of the animated series was that they went on this ride and they get sucked through a vortex to the Dungeons and Dragons realm. They created a realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And you had Dungeon Master, so you had kind of the elements of the game in that animated thing. And it was a Saturday morning cartoon. They only did like 20 something episodes. I have them all on DVD. It's I bought the set years ago. But that's, I mean, I look at that going, that would have been something that if they took that, they could elevate the story, not make it too corny or feel too like Saturday morning cartoonish, but then they got a basic story there that they could really propel through and work through all the realms of Dungeons and Dragons and build from there and do spin-offs from. But
and like I said, if they took like the Jumanji approach with like Welcome to the Jungle and you know the Dwayne Johnson Jumanjis, that would totally translate if they wanted to capture the feel of the anime show where they got sucked into the game and you can make it family friendly still and have that mix of action and humor on a level that I think they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think the fans would go nuts over it.
Yeah.
But
and that's the
we're
thing.
getting Hugh Grant and this crap.
I didn't like the initial trailer, and it just has not made it look like it's gonna be any better than what it looks like. It's just too much. I think because they're not taking it seriously. They're just trying to say, oh well, here's Dungeons and Dragons and like Game of Thrones. Come watch this for a couple hours, and it's like, no, make it something good.
Yeah,
you know, make
it.
What
you can totally see is they're copying what was hot at the time. It looks like they're copying another movie. I forget now. I have to rewatch the trailer, but to me, it looks like it's like, oh, this movie, oh, Deadpool. It's like they're trying to copy Deadpool or like that kind of a tone. Make it. And
that's the whole thing. I think the studios always do this though. You get as soon as Deadpool came out and was a hit. You know, at first we're like, nobody's going to care about Deadpool. Nobody's going to go see it. This, we're going to put it out there because we can, because it got a little hype. We'll make a couple bucks and walk away. Well, this is mega hit. And they're like, oh, well, everybody wants R-rated swearing and all. No, people want a fun story. They want something when they sit down, they enjoy themselves for 2 hours. I can go into a movie and they can have all the swearing they want and everything else. If it's not fun, who cares?
Yeah. So, well, we'll see where it goes, but yeah, thanks for sharing that commercial. I forgot about that. That was so well done.
Yeah, and it was. I remember that came out a few years ago, and it was done over in Europe, so it wasn't even released here in the States. And but yeah, I thought
now that I think about it, though, that might have accidentally launched a new genre of commercials where, like they've been doing these the last few years, where a popular brand like Home Alone, they'll bring Kevin McAllister back for a commercial. And it kind of becomes its own extension of that universe in a way.
Yeah.
And they've done that with a couple different franchises where through commercials brought it back. And I don't know if that's intentionally like a test bubble to see like how does the audience respond? Is there something here that we could grow it to something bigger, or is it purely the commercial side? I don't know.
I think it's more of just a gimmick. It's a great way to get people to pay attention to their commercial. Yeah. I think like with the Dungeons and Dragons one, I think it was whoever did it. I think they were just a fan of the cartoon, and they looked into it and like, oh, we can get the rights to do this, right? And they did it. So all that. Morning, Kevin.
Morning, all. Hello, Kevin. Speaking of Kevin, I got some exciting news to announce on Crimson Shadows.
Yeah.
The artwork is done. Oh. So Crimson Shadows 4 artwork is all done. It is now in the capable hands of the mighty Brett Pinson.
Yep. And it
my
is
right
all
left,
finally
whichever.
downloaded.
Yep.
So I have all the images downloaded. I've got the script, and I'll be starting to work on that sometime later today, probably.
Yeah, so we got that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm launching a second chance crowdfunding campaign on this since we have a little bit of time. I'm in the process of setting up. It will be on Indiegogo. So I have a bonus cover that will be Indiegogo exclusive that will be part of it. You'll be able to get all the past issues on there. But also, what's really cool with Indiegogo, as I've been I'm not very versed on all my past Kickstarters, all my past crowdfundings have been Kickstarters, but they have a secret reward option where you need a special link. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a secret reward for all of you who supported the last Kickstarter for issue 4. So you already are part of it. I'll send you the link via email, and through the link, you can secure yourself just the bonus cover of the Indiegogo campaign. And there will be no added shipping charges or anything like that. And it's at an extra low price that the rest of the crowdfunders won't be able to get. So, and if you secure that, I'll just add that to your Kickstarter package that you already ordered. So that's a neat little feature that I can throw in, to kind of thank you guys for supporting the past Kickstarter, but while giving you access to the new reward.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. So how's your week been?
It's been good. I got back to work, like I said, Friday, and then worked my normal shifts and that. And then in between, I was able to watch a couple of things. I did watch on Monday night. Paramount Plus has Devotion. Have you seen this?
Devotion? No.
It's a pilot movie. It stars the one guy that was in Maverick, that was the savior towards the end when he shows up at the last minute.
The Hangman. Yeah,
Hangman. He stars. It's set in 1950. So it takes place during the just before and at the beginning of the Korean War. It's based on a true story.
Is this the one with Kang the Conqueror in it?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I want to watch this one. Yeah.
It's on Paramount Plus. I liked it a lot. It was good. It's not like a great movie, and I think part of it is you're trying to tell a true story and stick to some of the truths. They dealt a little bit with the racism, but they didn't harbor on it, which I thought was good. We don't need didn't need 2 hours of that, but they dealt with the issues along the way, and a few things like that, which I think the way they handled was perfect, because it showed that it was the main guy that he was playing, Jesse Brown, that was his name. He's the first Navy black pilot. He just wanted to fly, and he worked hard to get where he was at, and he put up with all the stuff he had to put up with, but he was a good pilot, and it dealt with the thing they went through when they all came together, when he first meets his wingman Tom Hudner, and how they work together, and basically went through the training and that stuff. It was worth watching. I could tell why it didn't do well in the theater, because it's not an action movie. It's not this great war epic. There is some stuff that takes place during the Korean War, but that's the last part of it.
So did you see Red Tails by George Lucas?
I did. Red Tails was a fantastic film.
I really enjoyed that too. It didn't do so great in the theaters, but I absolutely loved that tale. Very similar kind of, obviously different stories because they're different people they're following, but I thoroughly enjoyed Red Tails. How did it compare to Red Tails?
Red Tails is a better film, I believe, overall for film watching enjoyment. The thing with Red Tails is they were able to kind of they followed actual pilot stuff like that, but they were able to create more of a narrative with multiple people. Where here, the main character is one pilot. There's a squadron, but you're not learning everything about all these other people. They're just kind of there. Okay. And so they kind of weave in there. You learn a little bit about his family and things like that. But I think that's sort of the difference with Red Tail. Plus, Red Tail had more of the elements of taking place during World War II, where they could spend more, cover a couple of years during World War II and show a lot more of the actual fighting and things they did, where there wasn't a lot of that aspect in this film. They didn't have, but a couple of times where they had skirmishes. So that was the difference is in terms of just treating it as a film and not as a historical representation. It had a lot less of that, but it was done well. I think it's a story I'd never heard before. was not aware of, and it was neat to see some of that history. So
Nice.
it's definitely well worth watching one. I remember when it came out and it was in and out of theaters very fast. So
yeah, I didn't see that one yet. That's on my to-do list, but I think this was Paramount Plus. I watched this week. Freaky. I hadn't seen it before.
Oh,
have you seen it?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to see when it came out and I missed it, so I bought it on when it came out.
Yeah,
I want to see it. It was great.
Enjoyable. It was
a lot
very
of fun.
enjoyable.
I've watched it a couple times because Vince Vaughn is funny.
It's basically Freaky Friday. Just instead of the mom and daughter switching bodies when it was Jamie Lee Curtis and or even Jodie Foster way back when.
Or probably back to Haley Mills.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But this one is you got a serial killer who switches body with a high schooler, and it's really good. I have to say, Vince Vaughn, he really could pull off the serial killer in a horror movie really well. He did the very serious, stoic, scary big guy very well. But then, of course, he
had to play the teenage girl.
He had to play the teenage girl, and he did that, I thought, very well as well. So it was a fun one. There a couple pretty graphic scenes, but not many. For the most part, it's more funny than it is scary. But definitely was enjoyable to watch for me.
Yeah, I like Vince Vaughn. I've enjoyed a lot of his movies over the years, and he can play serious at times, but he does more of the comedy. That's just always the way it's been. And they comedic guys, they do serious stuff, and they do good, but the studios that still never just take them seriously and all that. Yeah. But no, I liked it. It was a Blumhouse movie. Was Freaky. That's probably the reason I liked it, because it was kind of in the vein like the Happy Birthday one. The two of those they did though. Those were pretty
good.
Happy Death Day. Yeah, Happy Death Day. Yeah. So and I like when Blumhouse does some of those kind of horror comedy type films.
Well, and along that same vein, with Blumhouse, let me pull this one up. I also saw this one this week. The suspense. Megan.
Okay.
I enjoyed this one too. Now, this one, what's interesting is they purposely made sure to keep it at a PG-13 rating because they wanted a younger crowd to be able to come and see the movie. I thought they did a good job of creating a horror movie for young teens. Okay. And this is a Blumhouse movie also. I still say Elizabeth Olsen, the Olsen twins. I mean, not Elizabeth Olsen, but the Olsen twins are the basis of this doll. The whole movie, that's all I could see is Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen killing people. But basically, this is like the Terminator, Chucky, those kind of movies where this advanced AI doll is created, and it kind of learns its own things along the way. And at first, it's charged with protecting the kids' well-being at all costs. So, of course, there's a bully. Well, then the doll has to take care of the bully, and there's different things like that along the way. But I think it's worth seeing. I give it a B-. I think the concept is an A+. I think they have something here. The acting, the main woman in this sucked as an actress. There was it's supposed to be her sister dies and her niece comes and lives with her. You would never know there was any you through the movie. You would never know her sister died except for that they told you. I think they would have been better off just making her some social worker who took the kid in for a weekend.
Okay.
Because there's no emotional. She's just worried about missing work, and it's like your sister just died a horrific death, and you're like, oh, so and so's gonna kill me if I'm late. I don't know. So I felt there was a big disconnect there. But other than that, I think it went well. The little girl who's in this, I thought, did an excellent job of acting. And they covered, I think they could have gone deeper with this going forward into other movies. They explore something called attachment theory, how when a child loses someone important in their life, they want to attach themselves to someone else. Yeah, because that's going to be their protector. And in this case, because the doll was able to do everything and more that a parent could, the kid was becoming attached to the doll. And I think they could have really gone a really creepy, spooky way with this, where the doll is kind of the kid's parent as the kid gets older. And they could have turned this into something more, I think, than the direction they went. But overall, worth seeing. I enjoyed it. And
Yeah,
if they come out with a sequel, I'll see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I was looking to see who's in it. It's Allison Williams, who's been in a few things. She's Brian Williams from NBC News' daughter. He's one of the main news guys. Which brings up this: have you seen lately all this talk about anti-nepo?
That's like coming out of the woodwork now.
Yeah,
which is funny because half of Hollywood is nepotism.
What's funny is what it is. It's people that never had it that are upset that people that who are families they come from. I'm sorry, but I don't care what business it is, whether it's acting or anything else. If you have a chance to help your kids get involved in that industry and know they're going to be success, they could have a chance to have some success, make money, whatever. Wouldn't you do that if you know they can? Yeah.
Well,
it's just like anything.
But here's the thing: it doesn't guarantee anything. You can help open a door, but at the end of the day, that kid has to go through the door. Will Smith's a great example with Earth 2 or whatever it was. They did a bait and switch, made it look like a Will Smith movie. It turned out it was his son's movie. He was the lead. People went and saw it. They hated it, and it bombed big time. And, that kid got labeled with having a losing streak there right from the start. And so it can backfire too, but at the end of the day, you have to perform. And
that's like Tom Hanks came out and talked about it, and he's all his kids are in the family business of acting, as he puts it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that none of them have the success their dad has. He had to earn it too. They all have to earn it. The one that I think you see the most of and have over the years is Colin Hanks.
He's done well for himself.
And he's done well because he didn't try to be his dad. He didn't. He did all kinds of little roles, stuff like that. His other sons is now acting in this latest movie he's doing, which is not doing well. The Man Called Otto, his son Truman. But that's his acting debut. But it's it's one of the things I see when this new thing comes out of the Nepo babies, they're calling them, like going, you know what? If they suck, nobody's going to pay attention. If they're good actors or actresses, people are going to pay attention to them.
What's funny is when a child grows up in a certain environment, they're going to end up having some advantages because they're going to know they've lived that environment.
Right.
A kid who grows up in an entrepreneurial family is going to develop entrepreneurial skills naturally because they're observing it their entire lives. Right. They try to use this label against the Trumps, and the fact is, he makes all of his kids work, and they have to earn what they have, and they became very good. Is nepotism involved? Yeah, it's a part of it, but that's just simply giving the opportunity. But they have to still succeed.
Yeah, and I saw that even in the dealership I deal with for my vehicle, is the two sons have both still work there. They're both pretty much ready to take over the dealership at any time, but they both started off in lower roles. They had to learn every aspect. I mean, literally from like probably cleaning the toilets to, working in every section of that dealership in different capacities to understand how things work and run. And not just that, but also how to deal with things. The businesses that always fail when nepotism is bad is the ones that, here's my son. He went to college for 4 years, partied the whole time, doesn't know shit. He had a 2.0 grade point average because of the gentleman C, and now he's taking over. And they fuck up.
Well, and that's usually the third generation curse. Yeah. You have the first generation that worked their butt off for it. The second generation witnessed the working of the butt. And so they learned how to do it also. Actually, I think it's fourth generation. Third generation comes in and they work hard still, but they have the benefits of everything already in place. Fourth generation comes in. They never saw how it was earned. They didn't have to work for it. They just walk in, and then everything crashes because they don't know how to keep the infrastructure afloat. Which is why even on a generational scale, there's called the four turnings. If you look that up, we're entering into our fourth turning now. Usually the fourth turning is disaster, chaos, and collapse. As a country, that's every 80 years when you look. You had the Revolutionary War, 80 years later, Civil War, 80 years later, you had the Great Depression. Everything goes in 80-year cycles. And this is basically why, because the collapse, now you have to rebuild, and people learn how the strong character comes up and the cycle starts over. So, look at the Douglases. I mean, that's a great example of where every generation worked for it. First generation was Kirk Douglas. Yep. Then you got Michael Douglas. Then his kids, Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen.
Those are not his kids.
Aren't they related?
No, you've gone to a completely different family at that point.
Wait, you're right. I did. How did I jump families? Wait,
Martin Sheen is
you're
Estevez's.
right. No,
it was
you're
Martin
right.
Estevez, but even that's a better one. Michael Douglas. Now, unfortunately, his kids, his kids had drug problems, and they really.
That's right.
But
Third generation.
Michael got the third generation. The Sheens. Now you've got Martin Sheen, who when his sons came up, Emilio chose to keep Estevez and not go with a Hollywood name, and part of it was to separate himself from his father. And then Charlie, of course, kept Sheen, so you don't know who it was, and that's also why Emilio is always he's a good actor. He did better with he really wanted to be more of a writer, director, producer type thing, and he's done that over the years. But yeah, I mean, in terms of there's a lot of other families out there. I mean, you look at different ones that have come through. The Barrymores were one of the early families that for 3-4 generations. You've got the Fondas, Henry Fonda, down through his kids and that stuff and family and that. Which Bridget Fonda, she retired almost 20 years ago. I see it pop up every once in a while, and she does not look the same. They say it's her. I don't know if it's her or not, but suppose they keep showing a picture of a woman that's like, twice the size of what she was when she retired. But she could have definitely become a bigger woman, and that. But she went out of the public limelight 20 years ago. So, married, kids, stuff like that, and she didn't want nothing to do with it anymore. But yeah, the Hollywood, they're talking about this Nepo baby stuff. And then again, it's these people that come in that they're upset because they're not getting offered stuff because they feel it's going to these kids. But at the same time, it's like you look at the Santa Clauses. We talked about this a few weeks back with the TV show. It was Tim Allen's daughter playing his daughter in the thing. They didn't just give her the role. He was going to bring her in to be an elf, and someone said, "Hey, make her an elf," whatever. They had her try out. They liked her. They ran her through the rigors, and he stepped aside. Yeah, he got her in the door, but she's the one that got herself on screen. Yeah. And I think it's with anything is, and that's why I kind of came up with this little tie in here with because even like you look at the Olsens and that stuff, you get they start off as babies on a show, and then their sister gets involved into acting at different times. So and then the two sisters have quit acting. So they went into
Elizabeth
passion.
Olsen did everything she could to separate herself. She did not want her career based upon her sisters. She even considered changing her last name, I had read, because she didn't want to get work just because she was their sister.
Right.
The Bridges, Lloyd Bridges, Jeff Bridges, Bo Bridges.
Yep.
You got family there. And so the point is this, they're all related, but people don't go see Jeff Bridges movies or shows anymore because Lloyd Bridges is his dad. At some point he had to stand on his own and prove himself. And he has. He's a great actor.
Yeah. So,
and if you misuse nepotism, it's going to crash and burn.
Always does.
It always does. There is no guaranteed your consumer won't use you just because of who your dad is or your mom is. You have to prove yourself.
Yeah, and there's a whole articles popping up, and I just found it very interesting that they're trying to create this thing, and it's like if it's like I said. A lot of them get their kids involved and stuff. It's like you look at Johnny Depp's daughter. She was in, the Kevin Smith movie Yoga Hosers, and she did other stuff. She's done a few things since, but it wasn't like she got put. It's not like they're all being given these like multi-million-dollar deals. Most of them are making scale. They're not making big money. They have to earn their way up. And if they do their own films, they put them. It's like Ron Howard. I mean, him and his brother were both child actors, but he still puts his brother in films. But even then, it's not always like he gets a major role. He gets something like a little side role or things like that. And he doesn't always cast him. He doesn't say, "Oh yeah, I've got something for you," just to make sure he gets paid or something like that. Because his brother's a good actor on his own. So
and his daughter, she's really proving herself. But once again, at what point? She grew up in the movie industry. She grew up on the set of Star Wars, watching George Lucas make Star Wars from behind the scenes because her dad was friends with George, and she was on set. She benefited from those experiences, and it's helped it helped her down a path where she's now a really good director, and because she knows the movie industry inside and out. But should she be penalized because her dad is Ron Howard? No, that's just silly.
And that's what I feel like this new attack is. The problem is it's backfiring because these are some ultra left people that are unfortunately attacking other ultra left people who have come back and said, "No, you guys are coming in the wrong direction now."
Well, that's the thing. It's they create something, and see, all of these movements start off with attacking somebody they don't like.
Yeah.
And it creates a movement. And then that movement grows, and then they start consuming their own because they realize they all do it too. And, you had the Me Too movement, and it went after certain people. But then it grew, and then next thing you know, everyone in Hollywood was accused because they started consuming their own. The nepotism movement, that really started with Trump. They were all trying to target his kids, and they kept bringing up nepotism over and over again. And then slowly it's like, well, wait a minute. That other person I don't like also is nepotism. Oh, and that person. Oh, wait. Now it's people I like also had it. Now they're accusing everybody of it. It's just stop. Worry about your own mess. We all have enough of our own messes. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Now, one thing is, we can now move on. I think we've kind of covered that one good.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk yesterday, Scott and I didn't, but he posted on the preview of the Pale Blue Eye. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I just got ready. Yes. Did you watch it?
I did.
This was excellent. I really enjoyed it.
Now, did you, while watching it, before or after, did you know who played Poe?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was also in the Queen's Gambit.
Yep.
He's been popping up in a lot of things, which is amazing because, I mean, if you don't know who he is, you don't know. Like, because he's changed so much since when he first became popular.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, you're seeing Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter at playing Edgar Allan Poe.
The bully.
He is no longer the chubby kid.
No, he's become very skinny, like overly
He's gotten
skinny.
very fit and everything else. When he started getting to be, you notice in the last couple movies he was in for Harry Potter, he only did like the first 5.
Yeah.
The last couple movies he was in, he was slimming down some, but he's also growing, and from there he started getting there. But he's a good actor.
Yeah, he does a great job in this movie. This is a historical fiction piece, kind of like in the vein of Crimson Shadows. And they take real life events of Edgar Allan Poe. He went to West Point in real life. But that's kind of where it ends. Then what they do through the fiction is there's this murder case that's being investigated on the campus of West Point. And Christian Bale is Landor, I think.
Augustus Landor. Yep.
Yeah, he's investigating.
And again, fictional detective.
Yeah, and what they work into the narrative here, the fiction, is various elements of this case end up being future inspiration for Poe's various poems that are very well known. So I thought they did a great job of weaving everything together, and it's worth the watch.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it could have been a Poe story in some ways.
I almost felt like that's what this is leading to. Like this could become a Poe series where they could either bring Christian Bale back and work with Poe, or Poe goes on to other adventures and you have a different guest star show up.
Yeah.
But Harry Melling is perfect as Edgar Allan Poe. There, you saw him briefly there. He looks like him. I felt like, Poe is kind of a strange character in real life to look at. When you try to draw his portrait, he's hard because he's almost cartoonish in real life. And they really captured the look here.
Yeah, he had like a little bit of a hunch in his walk. He could move around. He was a very dark and brooding person, which everything you read about him, that's kind of how he came across in real life to people, was very dark and brooding. His life did not follow any sense of normality. He definitely had a lot of different twists and turns just to even get him to West Point. But yeah, he was really great. I loved how he portrayed him, and that made you feel like he really brought Poe to life in a way I've never seen before in other incarnations.
Yeah, it's totally original, but I felt, I've never met Poe, obviously, but I felt it was very true to who the character was. Here's an interesting guest star, too, that Gillian Anderson.
Yeah,
is,
almost unrecognizable. I didn't, we've used her from X-Files and all that. I'm like, wow.
Well, she's playing like these British people lately. Does she naturally have a British voice, or is she American?
I keep thinking she's now the one she's with. Standing there real quick before we move. I looked this up. The guy next to her, that right there is Toby Jones. He plays Dr. Daniel Marcus, and you'll recognize him from the Captain America movies and things like that. So,
but she plays Margaret Thatcher in The Crown, and she does that very well also.
Yes. Let me see here. She was she did study in Britain at least. So that might be why she's good with it. She was born in Chicago,
Okay.
but she studied over in England at one of the British school, the National Theatre of Great Britain summer acting program at Cornell University. Oh, it's Ithaca, New York. Okay, so she wasn't over there. So I think she's just a good actress. But yeah, she's been getting these uh, accents down pretty good. So
Yeah, her accent from her time in Britain is far better than Madonna's accent when she
yeah.
moved over there.
Well, Donna's was a put on, but actually, when you listen, a lot of the actors they have in this that have like Christian Bale, Harry Melling, are British, and they weren't trying to put on an American accent. They were putting
Right.
on the transitional accent between the British to American that happened during this time.
Yeah.
So they have a slight inflection, different tone, and things like that. And that's why I thought it really added a lot of realism. Plus, just on a filmmaking scale of this, the cinematography was very well.
Yep.
Everything's lit by candles. I mean, they use actual lighting, of course, but you can see they're trying to make it feel like more candle because it's very dark, but you can still see things. In fact, the shot right there, that's an enhanced shot because you didn't see them that much detail on them. And I like that. It made you feel like you were actually there. And it's not during winter. You felt like it was cold watching this, even though it's cold here right now too. But different stuff going on, and I just like how they unraveled the mystery.
As far as the
different
mystery
twists
goes,
and turns,
I like really the story, the progression of the mystery, and how it's revealed. So I don't want to get into that for listeners. I don't want spoilers, but they do. I felt like this was an Edgar Allan Poe tale. Like it was really good.
Yeah, and I was very, very surprised on that. So on how well they did that. So
I do hope we see more. I would love them to continue the story of Poe. Moving forward, I am curious if Kevin has seen it. Once we talk to him,
we want to talk to him about that,
his input, because Kevin is very knowledgeable on Poe. So I would like to see his input on this as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I really enjoyed about it. We got a chance, Kevin and I did, in Baltimore back in October to go to the Poe House. Our friend Enrica is the director there and helps run that. And so we got a little history of Poe there. And I remember reading while I was there one of the things about him going to West Point and stuff like that. And I've not really read deep into his biography in that. But, I definitely, think they captured a lot of that there. So,
good job.
I was looking up who this guy, Louis Bayard, is the guy that wrote the book that this is based on. He did a book called Jackie and Me. Looks like it's about a young Jacqueline Bouvier. I don't know if it's actual or biography versus a fictional one, but I definitely wouldn't mind. It looks like he's kind of bounced around quite a bit and different things, but he's got a couple different. Let me see here. What's this? The School of Night. It's set during King James. So he kind of bounces around in different eras. So I don't know. Even if he doesn't write another book, if they want to continue on with the storytelling, a few movies and that, as long as they handle it with the quality they did with this one here, this has definitely been one of the better Netflix films I've seen like this in a little while. So
Christian Bale, he really is a really good actor. He does a great job of portraying different people in different roles. Some actors, it's always the same. Sorry, Dwayne Johnson, but every role Dwayne Johnson does, he's the same character, just different.
Well, and like with Dwayne Johnson, and we talk about Ryan Reynolds and a few others, I go into those movies fully expecting them. That's what I did. I mean, if they wanted to be something different, they'd have to do some different type of movies. But Christian Bale,
you can lose yourself in the role.
Yeah, Christian Bale is someone that, well, he started off as a child actor. And he came up through different acting stuff. And really, if you go back and watch some of the stuff he did early on, like Empire of the Sun is one of his first things. Fantastic film. He does a great job. And then he did a few other things growing up. He did Newsies. He was starting to get a little older. I remember him, Swing Kids, which is a film that a lot of people don't know nowadays. It came out, it was on video for years. I haven't seen it shown anywhere in a long time. And then he kind of just did a few things here and there popping up. But really, he got known when he did American Psycho in 2000, which was 13 years after he did Empire of the Sun. And at this point, he's the adult. He's
Was
grown
he
up.
the main kid in Empire of the Sun?
Yes,
That was him.
that
Oh
was
wow,
him.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. And it just showed. Even then, he had just solid act. So from American Psycho, he goes on to other stuff. He does you see him like in Rain and Fire a couple years later. He's doing different things in between.
What's
some voice
amazing
acting.
about him too isn't just his acting, but his physicality.
Yeah.
He will go from. I mean, a part of me wonders, like, is there going to be harmful effects to him as he gets older? Because he drastically will change his body from role to role. I mean, notoriously, he lost insane amount of weight for The Mechanic.
Yep.
Where
he's done that a couple times.
He was crazy skinny, and then he rebounded, put on a ton of muscle. In fact, he put on too much muscle to play Bruce Wayne. He didn't fit in the outfit anymore. He had to then cut weight and lose some muscle mass because he was too big. I don't know how you swing that fast back and forth. Then he puts on a ton of weight to be Dick Cheney. Then he loses weight to be he got anorexic for Gore in Thor, and then he puts on weight to be this role. I don't know how he can control his body that much.
Well, I know he works with dietitians and stuff like that. I've seen different things on that, but yeah, he's definitely all over the place on that. But you've watched just look at the last few years he's done. We'll start with the Dick Cheney one. That was 2018, and what he did there. Then his next film coming out was a year later was Ford versus Ferrari, which he was fantastic in.
Yeah,
it was a film that at first I was like, I don't really care to see that. Whatever, it looks okay. When I did finally see it when it was on, I could stream it. I was like, wow, this actually was a really good version of telling the story about Shelby.
I think that movie is a good example of how the name matters. I think the name was so dull that people just tuned out.
Yeah, Ford for Ferrari. I was like, who cares? But if it had been something a little bit better in the titling than that,
Jason Thunder.
Now Amsterdam, I tried to watch. I just couldn't get into it. And it may have been so I put it aside for now. I may go back and revisit it since it's streaming now, but Pale Blue Eye, really, really dug that. I had
fun. I enjoyed it. It's not a super fast moving movie. It's a
little over 2 hours, and they could have probably trimmed some stuff here and there, but in the long run, really the little nuances they kept in that you think they could trim really add to the ending.
I think so too.
The payoff at the ending really is what it's all worth. Yeah. And the thing with this film is just when you think it's going to be ending, it has more to give you.
Yes.
And it's a good more. It's not like some films like, oh no, they should have ended 15 minutes ago.
It's like what's it? It's like at the end of a concert and the band comes back out to play 2 more songs.
It's an encore, yeah.
Encore. This has an encore.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, and it's not like and this is not a hidden credit scene or anything else to continue the story for another movie. It's within the movie itself. So it's just when you think it's about ready to close out and that. But yeah, definitely, I said Christian Bale is fantastic. I'm just definitely, Melling was just phenomenal in this. And I think he's going to start hopefully from this, get some recognition as a solid actor himself.
He did a really good job in the Queen's Gambit too. He played a chess master in that one.
Yeah.
And I felt he did a really good job acting there as well. So I think he's really spent the year kind of, because, after Harry Potter, you kind of lose track of him. And now he's popping up in these roles. And I think he spent the time developing himself seriously and to be a serious actor.
Yeah, I think so. And he did it a smart way on that, where, he worked his way around stuff and didn't try to just be a Harry Potter. I mean, it's a lot of the main kids from the Harry Potter movies. That's where I was listening actually to a podcast with Daniel Radcliffe. He was on Conan's podcast, Conan O'Brien's. And they were talking about some of that stuff, and he's like, he didn't want to just be typecast, and he wanted to do other stuff. That's why he did like Equus and stuff like that. And then, and the thing was, he got, of course, mentoring from some of the older actors on Harry Potter. They had a lot of great actors, and working with Snape. It's like, oh yeah, he comes to finally. He said by the 4th, 5th, and realize he's actually serious and doesn't just like not going to school as he put it, but he actually liked acting, and so he started getting. Stuff. And he said he visited like when he goes and sees him in Equus towards the end of his run. They go out to dinner and he gives him constructive criticism, but in a way that's very positive and upbeat and things he should work on for the next one. And Equus was the first stage play that Daniel Radcliffe had done. Okay. So, of course, I remember the girl I was dating at the time went and saw it, and She went strictly so she could see Harry Potter's penis because he's nude in the play.
So she saw his magic wand.
She did.
Well, I picture the spell being something like Erectus Humungus.
Yes.
Oh, wait. I got to get out.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just funny on that one.
Speaking of the different actors, though, in this too, I saw an interview with Christian Bale, and I found it fascinating because you can tell he really cares about his craft, and they're talking to him about how do you play a character that is very silent, that doesn't talk a lot, and it was an interesting thing because he's talking about how important it is to know what your character is thinking, and what he'll actually do if he has a long quiet scene or a lot of quiet scenes, he'll actually review the script, review the character, and he'll actually write his own internal dialogue of what the character is thinking while the other characters are talking. Because he finds if you're just sitting there, you're just going to be sitting there and you kind of look stupid. But by writing his own dialogue, what he thinks the character is thinking, and then in his head doing that dialogue while the characters are talking, he will have the body language based upon what that character's feeling and thinking. And I thought that was an interesting little acting tip that he was giving on how he does it. So he takes that time to really study the role and add to it so that his performance will show through. So
yeah, I think that's
cool.
Yeah, I think that's been the key to his success.
Yeah. Both show.
Yeah. So let's move on before we have to close out today because Bad Batch started back up last week. I originally I could have swore it was going to be the end of January they were going to start, but they started up last Wednesday with the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think this is all the Mandela effect where we are now in a new timeline. The old timeline, it was at end of January.
I also think it's because they were changing a bunch of stuff for a while. They kept announcing stuff saying, "Oh, we're going to do this, and it's like, nope, here's this, there's that." Originally, Mandalorian was supposed to come out earlier. Now it's coming out later.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing to keep in mind. These studios are big business, and their products are competitors with each other, and they don't want all their products launching at the same time. They got to stretch it out. And so, they're dealing with production schedules. Something else gets moved. Well, maybe we have to move something around to fill the gap or not, conflict with the other thing. So it happens all the time, but I'm loving this so far. I didn't see today's episode yet.
Oh, it's a good it was really good. It's out already. I watched it this morning.
But the first 2 episodes were released last week.
Yep. Yeah, I had the I was going to try to pull up the
It was a great opening 2 episodes. If you haven't seen any of the Star Wars animation because you're writing it off as childish, I highly recommend go back, watch the animated Clone War series, watch the Rebel series, and then watch the Bad Batch. It's very if you're a Star Wars fan, it's very fulfilling.
And it looks like we get 16 episodes for this season. They're all about a half hour long, but yeah, the first 2 episodes were great. It was basically it was a 2-part episode, dealing with a couple different heists. Because that's Bad Batch is trying to survive. They're trying to stay out of the Empire's crosshairs. Pun intended.
The basic premise, for those who don't know, is you had Order 66, where the clones were programmed to attack the Jedi. Well, these clones are enhanced clones, and they didn't have that programming in them. So when Order 66 happened, they didn't execute it. So they're on the run from the Empire.
Right. So it's been
basically the A-team.
Yeah. Are you in trouble? Do you need help? If you call on the Bad Batch. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so I like it. It's been fun. Go back and watch season 1 if you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
If you've forgotten some things, go back and watch it again. It's in that, but I like that the way they're continuing the story. We've seen it looked like Omega has aged up a little bit since the first season.
Yep. And they do this in the other series as well. They'll take characters and age them through the years.
Yeah, because what we're getting here is this is at the very onset of the Empire after Revenge of the Sith. So Vader is now fully evolved in terms of he's now Vader. He's not Anakin anymore. The Jedi are all gone as far as they know, though they're still hunting them, and they're now trying to turn systems from either the Republic or even separatist ones to the Empire.
Also, if you're a more casual fan and you don't understand how clones are different from stormtroopers, season 1 of the Bad Batch actually covers that transition also. So you see what happens.
Yeah, and I will say one thing from today's episode, it was slightly mentioned again today in a way of because they're not making new clones. We saw that. I believe it was first season. We saw they've scuttled the cloners world.
Yep, the
Basically,
Empire got rid of the cloning project. It was too expensive.
Yep, as far as we know. Though we do see in these other last few movies that they did some cloning. So, but it was good. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Third one was great. So definitely check that out.
I do hope they do tackle the issue of the Emperor and his interest in the cloning project as a way of cloning himself. I mean, there's no better series than a clone series to cover that, at least the initial parts of that program. So hopefully they at least touch on it at some point this season.
Yeah, if we see more of them eventually dealing around the more extra Imperials, other than when they're running to some of them on worlds, we can see that. But they really don't leave the main Bad Batch clones. They have the main group, and then they have the one Crosshairs, who is part of the Empire because he's a good soldier, as he likes to keep saying.
Yeah.
And that's the groups they follow. They don't really spin off too much to other stuff. So we'll see some crossing, I'm sure, of some different characters here and there.
So I've got some Star Wars gossip.
Yeah.
So this is coming from a source where this gentleman is known for leaks, for revealing stuff. He was the one that first revealed the on-set photos of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield on set of Spider-Man, and he's done a number of other breaking stories. So he has contacts within the industry, and he's been able to break some rumors, some stories that turned out to be very true. And he was reporting a day or two ago that his sources are telling him Kathleen Kennedy is about to be gone, within the next 2 months, is what his sources are saying. Now, right now it's rumor, but his rumors tend to come true. So he's got a good track record out there. So it sounds like, time will tell, but it sounds like Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out.
Well, it's been kind of the thing they've been alluding to for the last few months. And I think it's time. The problem is that she was supposed to be the custodian of George Lucas's vision. And instead she wanted to try to make it her own, which is not the way to
Emperor.
go.
She was Palpatine.
Yeah, she basically did.
She was Palpatine.
Yeah.
But so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and it's time. It's time. We've got Favreau and we've got Filoni, Filoni is really just he's kind of the keeper of the lore anymore by helping bring in some of that stuff into these series they're doing.
He's the soul of Star Wars right now. Yeah. He understood at his core what George's vision was, and he's the one keeping the heart in Star Wars that was always there originally. Yeah. Last thing to mention on Star Wars, I saw this clip. I don't know if this was a new clip or old, but I saw an interview with William Shatner. He was at a convention or something, and they asked him his thoughts on the Star Wars versus Star Trek rivalry. Have you heard this?
I have not.
This is really interesting. He gave all the credit to Star Wars for Star Trek. Mm-hmm. He said, without Star Wars, there'd be no Star Trek. He goes, people forget. We lasted 3 years, and all 3 years, people wanted us canceled. They didn't want us. Nobody cared about us. We made it 3 years, and then we were off the air. We didn't hear a thing after that.
Well, they did do the animated Star Trek prior to Star Wars, but even then, that was a Saturday morning show that nobody took seriously.
Right. And he said, but it was once the Star Wars movie came out. He goes, that's when all of a sudden the phone started lighting up because everyone at Paramount's like, what do we have that can rival Star Wars? What do we have? Oh, there's this Star Trek thing. Oh, well, let's get that going. And he said, without Star Wars, there would be no Star Trek today.
And the thing was, the fans were there for Star Trek, though the studios didn't see it because back then it was not as easily seen. They had toys in the 70s. Mm-hmm. I remember being 5 and 6 years old. That's prior to, as Star Wars was about to come up, playing with Star Trek toys, Mego. Yeah. They were a license that, go whatever. We don't care. You want to make some Star Trek? Go for it. You make your little bit of money. Nobody, because again, prior to Star Wars, these toys weren't making big bucks. It was something. Star Wars changed all that too. But so Star Trek was wrong because I remember watching Star Trek as a 4 and 5 year old and on as reruns. And And then Star Wars comes out, and it changed the whole landscape. I've seen different things. You can see different stuff on YouTube about Battlestar Galactica. There's was it Toy Galaxy or something like that did a 20-minute one recently on that, and it was on the original one, not the remake they did years later. And it did cover a little bit of the Galactica 1980, which was horrible. But you looked at other stuff that came out. Star Wars comes out, then you've got like Space
Buck
1999, Buck Rogers,
which is interesting because Buck
Galactica.
Rogers. Originally, George Lucas wanted to make a Buck Rogers movie. He was turned down, so then he made Star Wars, and his Star Wars is what brought Buck Rogers back.
Yeah, because the family that owns Buck Rogers and to this day still won't properly license it to be handled again. They've been approached a few times. So
that license, especially nowadays, could be done so well. But
yeah, if they got off their collective assets, the problem is they want to get paid big money up front, and that's what everyone was on to is just money up front. It's like, no, make something you'll probably make more bank in the long run. So
Shatner's ending compare contrast was, he gave all the credit to Star Wars. Without them, Star Trek wouldn't be here. And then and I do agree with him. He said, Star Trek is more about the individual stories of humanity. It focuses on a person's humanity, and the stories are about what is that about.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, whereas Star Wars is this amazing grand opera, and it covers these much larger, grander scales that Star Trek doesn't. So, and he was just talking about the place each has, and I do fully agree with him. I love them both for different reasons,
Well, and that's the whole thing when people say you have to be one or the other. It's like, no, I always like them both for different reasons, enjoy them for different reasons, like or dislike them for different reasons. And even there's been the current time the new vampire movie with Nicolas Cage.
Rumsfeld.
Yeah, Rumsfeld. Which looks like it's going to be some campy fun. But he was asked if he would be in Star Wars because him and Pedro are good friends, and he said no. He goes, "I'm a Star Trek guy." Me, I personally yeah, sure, I would do it. Oh, you want to be in Star Trek too? Yeah, I'll do that too. I would, because I wouldn't care either way. I'm not one or the other. But if people say what am I more of, I probably would have leaned more Star Wars. Always have, but I watch all the Star Trek movies. I try to watch all the series. The only one I've been critical of has been Discovery, but all the other Star Trek series out there I've enjoyed. Can't wait for Strange New Worlds to come back for the second season. Mm-hmm. Orville is a great Star Trek-esque series. So it's just it doesn't always have to be one or the other. So
yeah,
but I think we've seen that forever, and even Shatner's he was part of Fanboys movie. And they were like, "You're a Star Trek guy," and they're like, "Yeah, well, I'm William Shatner. I know everything."
Right.
Yeah. Last thing is, I did finish up the Willow series. Ended today. Today's the last episode.
Okay.
Interesting about that was there's a last scene. It's after mid-credit scene, and basically, so it's not really a spoiler, and they haven't heard anything on an actual renewal. But basically, this was closing out book 1. You see this book 1 closing on a shelf, and next to it's books 2 and 3. Okay. So it looks like they're going to try to continue this on. They left it open to continue on.
Okay.
So wasn't bad. It was interesting.
Are you excited for a second season if they do one?
I'll probably watch it, but it's not one of those things like I'm anticipating waiting on, like, oh my God, I can't wait for it. I can wait for it. I'm good.
Yeah.
It was fine. There's things that I thought were a little drawn out. They're setting up a lot of different stuff in that, but it definitely sounds like it's going to continue on. I like some of the characters. The last 2 episodes were much better. Everything else is more of just a Lord of the Rings Hobbit walk.
Okay.
So the last 2 really kind of set it up, and you get continuation of the story, and they use some AI generated Mad Mardigan voice.
Oh, okay.
So you get that in there. So
if I skip to the last 2 episodes, because I completely fell out of interest in it in the first 2 episodes, could you just jump into the last 2 and probably be fine?
I think so. All
right, maybe I'll do that.
You have an idea what's going on. There wasn't like any real big. The only thing you got during the middle stuff is what you need in any story. Is they had the training of Laura Dannon, so she learns magic, stuff like that. You have a couple things that happen to different characters, but there wasn't anything that happened where that was like these big reveals, like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And
so maybe I'll do that then.
And then they dealt with the issue of the princess and her friend who's her guardian who takes care of their lesbian relationship and that, and they kind of built that up, and then they've got the brother aspect of stuff now the guy that was supposed to marry the princess is with them, and he's got his own role, which really gets more revealed these last couple of episodes. Really the first few, they kind of just made him he's just kind of a tag along.
Yeah.
So, and then at the end, you're like, oh, okay, that's why they brought him along. So,
all right.
But I like the last two. It was fine. I like the guy that basically he's supposed to be Mad Bargain's friend that's with him the whole journey. He had different stuff on that, and he had a great line today. He was fighting some of the bad guys, and he pushes some of them out of this room, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going to go out of this world the same way I came in, butt naked and kicking." So I was like, "Okay, that's funny." The end credits always get me though. They use modern songs, they redo them, rock songs and that. So, and the songs are good. Actually, I like some of the redoes they've done, but it's always kind of weird that they're using that within Willow because it's not.
Yeah.
Something I haven't watched the movie in a long time, but I don't remember.
Yeah, you want more of a John Williams score for Willow.
Yeah, something like that. So, but yeah, watch the last couple, and then you'll see where they're at, and you'll see they're going on, and then that's about it. There's.
My last thing is I just started watching Kaleidoscope on Netflix. Did you happen to see that?
I tried to watch that. I watched. It says you can watch it in any order, so I started watching the green episode.
Yeah, you have to watch. You have to watch the first and last episode in that order, but everything in between you can switch around.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's because it pops up and the green one shows up as the first one, and I'm like, okay, but it shows up different for everybody, I guess. And I think that I'm like, okay, whatever. So I have put it aside. Are you liking it?
I'm enjoying it. We'll see where it goes. It's good enough to keep my interest at this point. I think it's mostly because of Gus Fring here, Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, Carlo, Big Brother Almighty.
Yeah, what I like about it, I love him as an actor, but almost every role I can think of, he's always super clean cut. Whether he's Gus in Breaking Bad or he's oh God, I'm blanking on his name in The Mandalorian, but he plays the leader of the Empire there.
Yep. In the first season. Yep.
In the first season there.
He's a Moff.
Moff. Yeah. I'm blanking on his name though. But anyways, he's always super clean cut and well put together. Here, he's a little disheveled. He's got some scruff on his face. His hair is a little messy. And he just comes across, it's like you almost don't recognize him. It's interesting. But he's such a good actor that even though his face and voice and everything is so well known, he's a completely different demeanor in this show. So I'm enjoying it mostly because of him at this point. But am I thrilled with it? Not yet, but it's good enough to keep my interest. Let's see how this unfolds and where it goes. Because right now, it's mostly setup is happening. Supposedly, depending on what order you watch, you're going to get different impressions. I'm just going in the order that it's showing up on the screen.
Well, and that's where, like I said, mine started off with the green one, so I watched that first, and I was like, I think I got 3/4 way through, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling bored already, and so I just shut it off. But I may go back and try a different episode.
Here, I'm pulling it up now. So
I saw an article afterwards that said, here's what people are recommending to watch it in to get more of the story in a better offering. So
let's see.
By the way, he was Grand Moff Gideon.
Gideon, that's right.
But way back to school days was Spike Lee movie. He was Big Brother Almighty.
Let's see. I'm trying to watch every episode but the one with the big eye. So viewing order. They're saying to watch yellow first, white last. But there's all different, like there's articles that'll tell you like if you want to watch in chronological order, watch these ones. If you want, watch the story in reverse, get all this different stuff. So there's different ways to watch it. Supposedly, I'm just going in the order Netflix tells me at this point.
Yeah,
but we'll see. But so far, it's okay.
Yeah, like I said, I think maybe the one I got was just the wrong way to go. So,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just moving on.
So I'll probably check it out. So
one thing I am possibly going to see, I don't know yet, is Nicolas Cage has a movie out, a Western called The Old Way.
Okay.
That just came out. I saw it.
Theaters or streaming?
It's at, I know Imagine has it.
Okay.
So Nicolas Cage is in it. So I'm gonna try to see it this week. I don't know if I'm gonna have time, but if I do, let me pop it up here. It looks like a true Western.
Oh, there's some nepotism. I mean, it's got Clint Howard. I bet it's something tied into the
Wait, Clint Howard?
Yeah, that's Ron's brother.
Yeah, does he get work without it being Ron involved?
I
Did
know.
Ron make this movie?
I was looking at it. Ron had to have done something. It's his production company. It says there's more. Let me check the production companies and
yeah. But an old gunslinger and his daughter must face the consequences of his past when a son of a man he murdered years ago arrives to take revenge. So, to me, it kind of feels like it might have a little bit of the Unforgiven Clint Eastwood movie type vibe, but
yeah,
we'll see. Never know with Nicolas Cage. The problem with Nicolas Cage is I really like him as an actor, but he's one of those actors, no matter what he does, it's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
He's just got such a stylized voice, a speaking pattern, and who he is. So even when he's being serious, it's still Nicolas Cage. My favorite role of his is still The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where he just played himself. But I do want to see it. I enjoy Westerns. I enjoy the old Clint Eastwood movies. So I'm going to try to see this week.
Yeah, and looking at the cast list, it's not really he's the biggest name on there.
Yeah.
The other real known one, when you look at just initially, is Clint Howard, if you know who Clint Howard is.
Yep.
Who I met in Pittsburgh several years ago. Great guy.
Oh, yeah.
And that stuff. So, yeah, this is, he started doing all these movies. In a lot of ways, he's like, I want to do a Western. It's probably what I came up with. So they found a Western for him. And, and he's not asking like $20 million a picture or something like that. He's paid off his IRS debt and he's been buying back his stolen comic book collection.
Well, and as we know from The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, he'll take any role.
Yes. Well, they're going to pay me, so I will show up. So
if you'll buy the airline ticket, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I want to see how it is.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to have to check it out myself if I get a chance. So
that's about it. It's pretty slow movie-wise. There's not much out there. Avatar, it's doing okay. It's doing better than I thought it would do, to be, perfectly honest.
Well, I'm watching. It's over 500 million on the domestic, and they keep talking. Oh, it's better than Maverick. It's better than Maverick. Well, Maverick didn't have as much of a presence international because of this subject matter. There was a lot of countries that said no, we don't want to deal with that because of you're coming around some countries that we don't want to piss off. But domestically, it was just under 800 million for Maverick. So Avatar's still got a couple $100 million to go to, in my opinion, to be better than Maverick domestically.
But even so, this is the interesting thing about Avatar to me. And then we'll have to wrap up here. But just like the first one, it's doing well. I mean, the money it's taken in is very good. No one's talking about it. Like Maverick, everyone's like, oh my God, that was amazing. And people are posting about it. People are talking about it. Can't wait to see it again. You hear nothing about Avatar.
I'm not seeing any
that's how
posts.
the first one was.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, the first one come out, the social media was basically MySpace and stuff like that, and people weren't posting because they didn't have their smartphones like they do now. But no, it's like the only thing I saw was the initial "can't wait to see it," and then people went and saw it, and that's it. So, I'm sure people are still just seeing it, catching up, like, oh, let's go see it now. Nobody's talking about seeing it 2, 3, 4 times. It'll be interesting to see at the Comic Cons if they're, if any of the cosplay people will come back dressed up as the Avatar. But if they do, that's the initial. Will they continue on a year or two now as the other movies come out? Because he's supposedly shot all 3 movies together. So, and if they do another one after that, it'll be something to have to shoot new. But because all the actors are about, oh yeah, working on these films for 2 years and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, so you did it like Lord of the Rings. We're just going to shoot them all.
Yeah, the next one will focus on fire, he said.
Yeah, so they're all elemental and different nature, and so it's going to be a different take on the Na'vi and all that stuff. I don't know. When it hits Disney Plus, I'll probably watch it, and it's not because it's over 3 hours long, but I just wasn't excited about it. I saw the first one. I thought at the time, the special effects, the design of it was really neat, but the story wise, like I saw that 20 years before, where it's called Dances with Wolves. He's not telling and while there's not a lot of unique stories out there, it felt too much like he really mirrored that in a lot of ways. So, so this one here, I don't know what he's mirroring, but I just, all the trailer stuff didn't lead me into like a bigger story than watching the Navi fly around over water.
Well, I still think a big part of the success right now is if you want to go see a movie right now, what do you go see? There's not much out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I guess we'll go see Avatar, like, because there's not much out there.
Right.
What was the other movie? Oh, Megan. Megan actually outpaced it on
It
its
was,
opening.
I looked up on Box Office Mojo. It was like 10 million, 15 million less last weekend than Avatar was. But for a smaller budget,
right. It did
was
really well.
Yeah. And then really there's the other new movie is That Man Called Otto, which is the new Tom Hanks one. That did not do well at all. It's only 4.2 million. But you look at some of the other stuff, you look at like Puss in Boots, Last Wish. Well, that's been out for a few weeks and it's been available to pay to stream at home. So, things like that. The one we talked about today, The Pale Blue Eye, that was released, but it was not meant to be a ongoing one. Did I talk about The Menu a couple weeks ago? I'm trying to remember if I talked about that or not.
I think you talked to me privately. I don't think you talked about it on here.
Okay, yeah. So that's available for streaming now. Yeah, real quick, and then we'll go. I won't get into it. It's available now to watch on HBO Max as well as HBO as a cable service. It was a neat little thriller / not really horror, but thriller type film.
We were talking about a class action lawsuit to get millions off of false advertising.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we saw it at first, it makes it sound like it's okay, dinner's done. We're gonna hunt you on the island now. No, there's a lot more to it. So I think I did talk about it on the show a couple weeks ago. I've watched it. Was it? I forget. Yeah.
Was it better than you expected, or same?
It was.
Or not?
It was about what I expected. It was fine to watch once.
Okay.
So, and then not much else out there. Really.
You guys got to see The Invitation still. You and Kevin. I can't talk about it. I don't want to reveal the twist.
What a twist! So, I'll have to try to see that. I just haven't been in movies in quite a while. I just really haven't had the desire to go. I wanted to go, but in some ways not enough to really walk out the door.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, we'll hopefully see you next week. We'll try to stay healthy. Yes. We'll talk a little more about the upcoming Indiegogo campaign. And I'll let you know the status of Crimson Shadows 4. And who knows? We'll maybe watch some TV or something in between. So, y'all have a good one. We'll see you later. Bye.